Welcome to Camp Randall Stadium, home of the Wisconsin Badgers, and tonight the temporary road home of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State facing the Badgers, 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Tony Gerdeman joins me here on the field. Tony, there is good news and bad news in the injury report from Ohio State that we just got a hold of. There, I guess let's start with the good news. TreVeyon Henderson is back. Emeka Egbuka back. There was a report from Pete Thamel on Saturday morning that he was going to be questionable. He is not listed on the questionable list, so you assume Emeka Egbuka good to go. Denzel Burke also good to go. Those were three guys who we saw on Friday as they were getting off the bus and thought, okay, check, check, check. Those are three big additions for Ohio State for this game.
Yeah, especially in a game like this, you want to be as full strength as you can be, and to get arguably your best defensive back, your number two, your 1B wide receiver back, to make everybody else more dangerous, make Marvin Harrison more dangerous, and to get your home run hitter back at running back, maybe the most important of all of these, because Marvin is Marvin regardless of who else is there, but the running game needs some help. So I think TreVeyon being back, if he is good to go, and he's been close, we'll see how long the rust takes, but he's still a guy that can hit it at any point. And there have been situations, there have been runs without him that I think he would have hit, in terms of gone all the distance. That hasn't happened yet, so maybe that's a new added bonus there as well.
So, okay, there's the good news, and we'll probably take a little bit deeper dive on that in just a minute, but we got to get to the bad news, Tony. It is the Ohio State running back room in the year of our Lord 2023. It cannot all be good news. They are legally not allowed to all be healthy at the same time. Mayan Williams out for the game.
Yeah, and it's funny, I don't know if it was one of the shows where we had a comment saying, well, if TreVeyon is coming back, does that mean Mayan is going to be out this week? It's like, come on. What kind of crazy comment is that? And apparently, yes, that's what that means. You can only have so many running backs, and those two. Remember, there's a show as a child where, and it was maybe also on G.I. Joe, or when one guy would suffer, like the twin brother would suffer an injury, but the other guy would get hurt. Like, I feel like there's something going on there. One guy's healthy, the other can't be. Like, I've taken your strength points and I've applied them to my ankle. Now your ankle is bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's, they've had Mayan Williams miss a little bit of time, including this game. You had Chip Trayanum miss some time. You had TreVeyon Henderson miss a bunch of time. It's just they cannot stay healthy. And this is really the second year in a row where you've had that kind of injury luck or lack of luck in the running back room. The rest, I'll just read through the rest of the report. And there are a bunch of names that are no longer on this, which is good. The list is getting shorter right now. Nolan Botto out. Devin Brown, obviously, that not a big surprise, backup quarterback, is out. Ryan Day said after, when he got to Madison on Friday night, talked about it's probably Tristan Gebbia next, and then Lincoln Kienholz in that order, which hostile road game, you probably lean on your veteran guy who's done it before rather than throwing Lincoln Kienholz into the fire for the first time in what is one of the Big Ten's louder stadiums. Yeah, and Tristan Gebbia, having started many games in his career at Oregon State, he's been in kind of some environments similar to this. I assume, maybe like an Autzen Stadium, something like that, in a rivalry game, where he's experienced that. So I wouldn't say he's unflappable, but he's less flappable than a true freshman. Right, and Tristan Gebbia came from Oregon State, so if he was playing at Autzen Stadium, that would have been a Civil War game. They're in the same division at Oregon State as Washington, which Husky Stadium, notorious for being a very loud place to play. So, if you're gonna, you're always gonna kind of default to the safer choice. And if something does happen to Kyle McCord and it is Tristan Gebbia time, then Ohio State's just gonna have to figure it out. And that's where you're probably looking at more pop passes, misdirection, try and sort of patchwork it together. Obviously, Ohio State hoping that Kyle McCord stays healthy and it doesn't become an issue. A couple of guys in the secondary who are out: cornerback Jair Brown, safety Jahad Carter. Jair Brown has been on and off this repeatedly. We haven't seen him, I don't think, in games in the last few weeks. So, the depth at corner and the fact that everyone else is healthy, it's not a disaster there. Jahad Carter you saw go down last week with what looked like a fairly serious lower body injury, so not a surprise to see him on here.
No, and those are two guys that they're part of the depth. And Jahad Carter, we thought before the season started he was going to possibly be one of their starters, and hasn't materialized, but you lose a couple of special teamers, and like you said, we haven't really seen Jair Brown of late anyway, and Jahad Carter's only playing sparingly, so if you're going to lose two guys in the secondary.
Yeah, and kind of the same boat for wide receiver Keon Grays. He's been on this list for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we keep thinking, okay, it sounded like, okay, maybe he was getting closer. Still not there. Again, he's a depth guy for them. That's not, that's not one of their top 5, 6 wide receivers at the moment. So, overall,
only 6 names. I mean, that's a short list.
Only 6 names in the middle of a Big Ten season, Halloween weekend. That's not bad. Obviously, you'd prefer to not have one of your top running backs, one of your top quarterbacks on this list. But, as far as injury-plagued seasons go, this has not been a terrible one for Ohio State. So you get Emeka Egbuka back, you get Travion Henderson back. That's pretty big on the offensive side of the ball. It feels like that, having Marvin Harrison, having Emeka Egbuka, and we'll see how much Emeka Egbuka plays. He's off the list, so he's able to play. But it's going to be cold. It's chilly here. It's not freezing cold. It's probably 40 degrees, something like that. But overcast, a little bit of a breeze right now.
Down on the field, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad down on the field. No, the flag is at the top of the stadium blowing a little bit, but again, not a ton. It's not super windy. It's, but this is a kind of chilly night that if you're a little banged up and you still got a little bit of swelling and stuff, you can end up a little stiff and, where you've got your injury. So we'll see. I'm not expecting Emeka Egbuka to play 50 snaps tonight, but if he can just play 20, that might be a big change for Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll be getting treatment up until he's got his pants on and then more treatment after that. But the adrenaline is going to, I think, send him onto the field pretty fine, because that's going to shield any pain or whatever is, still going on there. But if he's cleared, he's good to go. But, yeah, we'll see how much he plays, how much they want him to play, how effective he is. And if he is effective, then, hey, keep throwing it to him.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, it's funny, Jair Brown being out. This was a game where Jair Brown started this game last year because everyone else is hurt. Now he's the only corner who is hurt. Getting Denzel Burke back, that this is not a game where I'm expecting Wisconsin to just be lighting things up in the passing game. But anytime you get your cornerback number 1 back, that's going to be a big addition for Ohio State because that secondary has been really solid all year. They were solid last week against Penn State. Adding Denzel Burke to that mix is only going to help.
Yeah, and not just adding Denzel Burke. Obviously, that makes your secondary better. You don't have to bring in the freshman Jermaine Matthews, and he's played very well, but he's still just a true freshman. So you don't have to concern yourself with a freshman mistake because he's going to be on the sideline until there's a point where they need him. But you stay veteran in a place where you need your experience to play, as Ryan Day says, you need your veterans to play veteran in a place where I don't know that they have been. None of them have been here.
Nope.
So this is going to be an interesting experience for them. I am expecting the similar thing that we saw with Malcolm Jenkins in whatever year that was, 2008 maybe?
Yeah.
Where the entire team was getting into the jump around. I'm expecting to see that same kind of attitude from this defense that is as confident as we've seen them since 2019.
Yeah, this is an atmosphere that it's a fun place to play, and no one on this Ohio State team has been here. It goes back to 2016, the last time Ohio State was here. So Ryan Day hasn't even been here. Brian Hartline was here as a player. Tim Walton was here as a player. But, Larry Johnson has been here, obviously, before. James Laurinaitis has been here as a player.
Yeah.
But, you go through most of the rest of the coaching staff, and there's a whole lot of people who are about to experience it for the first time, and it is one of the louder, more exciting venues in football. This feels like one of those games where it's going to be big if Ohio State can get out to an early lead. I have some reservations about potentially a slow start. You saw Penn State have a very slow start earlier on Saturday against, who were they playing? Indiana.
Yes.
Indiana, yes, against Indiana. Sorry, we were watching that. We were watching the Maryland Northwestern game, and I was thinking they weren't playing Maryland. Who were they playing?
Plus, we were having ice cream and sandwiches.
We were. Yes, Madison. Madison is pretty high on my list of Big Ten cities to visit. If you have, in the words of Ferris Bueller, if you have the means, I highly recommend it. It feels like a game where it would be pretty big for Ohio State to get off to a good start. I don't know if I'm expecting Ohio State to get off to a big start, but the difference in terms of the atmosphere you're going to be dealing with, the pressure you're going to be dealing with, if you put 10 points up on the board in the first quarter versus, hey, it's 7-3 at halftime, that's a very different second half.
Well, and like Texas A&M has the 12th man, this stadium also is the 12th man for this team, and they need it. And I'm sure Luke Fickell has called upon them to be a part of this game all week long, because the louder they are, the more difficult they make it. This is still a quarterback in Kyle McCord who is starting his 8th, 9th game at this point in his career. So there's still some things like this are still new for him. Yes, he won at Notre Dame. He was beat Penn State, but this is still another new experience for him. So if the crowd can keep them in it, and if, like you said, if it's a 3-0 or a 0-0 first quarter, then it's just the crowd is going to stay in it. So does Ryan Day, if they win the toss, do they take the ball?
I think you probably defer, because this is, if you defer, then the crowd can't get into it right away. You have Wisconsin, it's the 8th or 9th career start for Kyle McCord. It's the 2nd career start for Wisconsin starting quarterback Braden Locke. This is, the only other start has been against Illinois. This is obviously going to be the best defense he's played. This is going to be the best offense he's been opposite as a starter. And they started slow last week. So, if I'm Ryan Day, I defer. I try and, you try and get a quick 3 and out. You try and, maybe you get a pressure, you get a turnover. He starts, he doesn't see something, something like that. I'm guessing they're going to keep it relatively simple coming out of the gates, because he was only 21 of 40 last week for 200 and something yards, 240 yards maybe, a couple touchdowns, no picks, but you're going to keep it simple. This is not going to be a game where Luke Fickell's going to probably look at him and go, the game plan is for you to win the game.
No, but the good news for Braden Locke is he has played against Iowa's defense, he's played against Illinois' defense, so he's not played against two patsies.
Yeah,
he's played two defenses that know what they're doing, and so you have to be aware of that. And he's going to be playing another defense that knows what they're doing. And I'm not expecting him to light Ohio State up. They're not really a big play offense, and he's not necessarily a big play quarterback at this point. But it only takes 1 or 2 in a tight game, especially if it's a 4-quarter game. If this is a game in the 4th quarter, we've seen that before here, where it just takes one slip, one missed tackle, and now everybody's into it. If they could have been quiet for 3 quarters, but then they're going to be as loud as you've ever heard for that final quarter.
Yeah, I was here for the 2003 game, and that was the case. It was cold, it was windy. The crowd was kind of out of it because Ohio State was just sort of strangling the life out of Wisconsin for most of that game. And then you get to the 4th quarter, and Lee Evans has that out and up, and all of a sudden, boom, they're leading. And
strangling literally and figuratively.
Well, yeah, I forgot I said that, and then I thought, was that the Robert Reynolds game? Yes, it was.
And it was the backup quarterback who hit that throw to Lee Evans.
Yeah. So this is going to be one where you want to keep this game out of the margin of stupidity if you can, where you have the margin of error being like one guy slips or one guy gets a finger on a football or doesn't get a finger on a football, and that's the difference in the game. You want to try and get a little bit of a lead here. Just keep it out of the margin of error here, and
get some insurance runs.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be here after the game as well for our usual post-game show. You can find that at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. As soon as that clock hits 0, we'll have our usual crew on the post-game show. Should be Mark and Devin right after the game, and then we'll be hopping on with interviews with Ryan Day and Ohio State players, and then we'll try and get you some sound from Luke Fickell in the game after the game as well, and then Tony and I'll be jumping on after that for our usual Buckeye Weekly post-game instant reaction show. So stay up late for us. Go ahead, throw on a pot of coffee. Stay up late with us. We'll be here. Should be whatever the outcome. This is going to be an eventful night. I get the sense in Camp Randall here. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you after the game.